Chapter 7, Lesson 1, The Rise of the Lone Star State. It's a warm summer morning in 1842. You stand with your father and a group of people outside the president's house. Suddenly, Sam Houston steps onto the back porch. He greets everyone warmly. Then he goes to the pump, takes out his razor, and begins trimming his sideburns. While he shaves, people chat with each other and with Houston. You marvel at how his tall Texan can entertain a crowd. One minute he's sharing an amazing story, the next he is telling a funny joke. Yet he also listens closely to people's ideas. You decide then and there that you would like to be a Texas leader when you grow up, but you wonder what Texas will be like then. The last days of the Republic. If you had been able to talk with Sam Houston as he shaved, he might have told you his feelings about Texas. Houston loved Texas, but he did not feel that Texas should be a separate country. Instead, he supported annexation. That is, he wanted Texas to join with and become one of the United States. The U.S. Army protected its citizens. A U.S. postal system delivered mail to towns far and wide. Houston knew that such services cost money. At that time, Texas had very little money. As president, Houston had tried to convince people of his views. Many Texans agreed with him, but others did not. They wanted Texas to become a powerful country like the United States. People outside Texas also opposed Houston's ideas. Some U.S. leaders did not want to annex Texas. They knew that Texas laws allowed slavery. This meant that farmers could use the labor of enslaved workers, people who were not free. Certain southern states also had laws supporting slavery. Some leaders did not want to add another slave state to the United States. Many U.S. citizens did not want to take on the debt that Texas had. Texas joins the United States. On February 28, 1845, the U.S. Congress passed a resolution or decision. The resolution said that Texas could become a state. It went on to say that Texas would keep its public lands, but it must agree to give its forts to the United States government. Many months would pass before Texas was officially a state. On July 4, 1845, Texas leaders met at Washington on the Brazos to vote on the resolution. It passed with only one no vote. In October, Texas voters also accepted the resolution. More than 4,000 people voted in favor of statehood. Only about 200 Texans voted against it. Finally, on December 29, 1845, Texas became the 28th state of the United States. A few weeks later, Texans gathered in front of the state capitol in Austin. Anson Jones, the last president of the Republic of Texas, was there. Lowering the flag of the Republic, he announced, "The Republic of Texas is no more." Feelings of sadness swept through the crowd. Writer Noah Smithwick later described the scene. Many a head was bowed, many a broad chest heaved, and many a manly cheek was wet with tears. But months later, that mood changed. People began cheering as the new flag was raised. At last, the U.S. flag waved above the Texas Capitol. The Constitution of 1845. Now that Texas was a state, it needed a state constitution. Think of it as if your school needed a new set of rules. You would probably feel honored if your principal chose you to write them, but you might also feel a little frightened. This may be how the writers of the new Constitution felt. They knew that the future of Texas would depend on their words. After all, the Constitution would decide how all Texans would live. Several men worked together to write the Constitution. It took them 2 months. Only one of these men, Jose Antonio Navarro, had been born in Texas. The others came from the United States. The writers based their ideas on the constitutions written for the Republic of Texas and for the state of Louisiana. The new Constitution said that the Texas legislature would meet every 2 years. A legislator is a group of people who make new laws. The Constitution had also said that Texans would elect a new governor every 2 years. The first governor of Texas, James Pinckney Henderson, took over as governor when Anson Jones stepped down from the presidency. For many years, the only Texans allowed to vote were Anglo and Tejano men over the age of 21. Women, Native American men, and African American men did not have this right. They could not be elected to a public office either. The Call of the Land. The story of Texas is a story of the land. It is also a story of change. You may remember that Texas kept its public lands when it became a state. Leaders then gave away some of this land to attract people to the area. This offer brought many immigrants to Texas after 1845. Most immigrants arrived from the southern United States. Others came from Mexico and Europe. Many Mexicans settled in the southern part of Texas. They lived in towns such as San Antonio, Laredo, and Victoria. Some Mexican immigrants moved farther west to places such as El Paso and Presidio. European families left crowded cities and sailed to a new land. Some had to walk hundreds of miles from the Texas coast to reach their new homes. People often died on this difficult journey. In the 1840s, a group of Germans organized an association to bring Germans to Texas. One of their leaders, Prince Karl of Solms-Brunsviel in Germany, visited Texas and then wrote a book. He described bays, rivers, and creeks swimming with large and heavy fish, oysters, and crabs. All are delicious, he concluded. What a rich world this was. Prince Karl's words drew German families to Texas. Many settled in the central part of the state. There, they built towns such as New Braunfels and Vickersburg. They spoke German and read German newspapers and ate German food. Today, part of central Texas is still called the German Hill Country. Some immigrants came to Texas from what are now Czech and Slavic republics. They settled in central and southeast Texas. Father Leopold Moshe Jimba, a Polish priest, helped to bring 100 families from Poland to Texas. Arriving on Christmas Eve in 1845, they found the town of Panna Maria. This settlement is the oldest permanent Polish colony in the United States. The first Polish Catholic church and school are located there. The immigrants brought new traditions and customs to the state. They spoke different languages. They ate different foods. Each group had its own way of celebrating important events. Take a look around Texas. What signs of cultures of the various immigrants who settled here can you find? You may find clothing, such as woven hat of Mexico, or you may see a building of timber and stone like those the Germans built. Keep in mind that immigrants also brought new ideas to Texas, ideas about business, farming, and industry. These ideas have helped make Texas what it is today. The New Texans. Some immigrants had been farmers in the countries they left behind. Others had worked as teachers, merchants, or tailors. But when they arrived in Texas, almost everyone had the same difficult task: buying land and growing food. As more immigrants arrived, older towns grew and new towns formed. People opened hardware stores, hotels, and mills for processing cotton and grains. Texas worked together. These settlers from other states, Mexico and Europe, answered the call of the land.